So in our earlier videos, we spoke about HTML. We spoke extensively introducing HTML. And we also introduced HTML5. We said that the HTML formed the backbone of web pages. So technically, every website you go to or you visit has HTML in the background or in there. It helps hold the structure of the web page. And we demonstrated that using several videos. We also went ahead to introduce HTML5, the latest version of HTML. We spoke about its pros, the new things that have been added to HTML5 to make it more user-friendly and to make it more developer-friendly as well. Today, we are going to focus our conversation on a very important part of the code or the structure of HTML, which is the head. So I'd like us to talk about the head. In the past, we've seen examples of demonstrating the head. And we've seen words like metadata, we've seen things like link, script, and style tags. I'd like to just throw some light on these things very quickly. Metadata simply talks about a description of the document. So it is not information in the document. However, it kind of describes what the document is about. Links refer to resources that you have online, and you might want your web page on your server. You have resources on your server and might want your web page to make use of those resources. So that's when we adopt a link. The script refers to some scripts you have having some functionalities and you want to implement those functionalities. Okay. So that's when you bring in scripts. And often scripts come to do something. Maybe they connect your let's say user login to the database. They perform certain functionalities on your website. Okay. So that's when you adopt the script tags. And the style tags are for styling your web page. And as we go further, I'll be throwing certain cautions when to use what and when to implement what, because you need to understand some of these things very well. So let's look at the basic structure of the web page. Okay. If you've followed our earlier lessons, then you will definitely see this structure. So I said that when you are starting an HTML5 page, you first declare the type of document by saying .type HTML. When you do this, you've declared this document as an HTML5 page. Okay. So when that happens, you've declared it as an HTML5 page. And what's going to happen is that you have head and you have some tags also going into the head, and you have a body and have some tags going into the body before you close your HTML. So the opening tag of the HTML, the closing tag of the HTML, the head, the opening tag of the head, the closing tag of the head, the opening tag of the body, as well as the closing tag of the body. The head and the body will contain their own content. However, we said that the head is not displayed. Content in the head is not displayed in the view of the user. In the view of the user. So you don't have head being displayed in your web page. In our previous lessons, we used Visual Studio Code as our editor. For the sake of dynamism, today I'd like us to try Sublime Text. Okay, I'd like us to try Sublime Text and then use that for our demos and for our coding as well. So that if you are using Visual Studio Code, you can follow along. If you are using Sublime Text, you can follow along. Sublime Text is a very light version of the code editor, and yet has very useful implementations, which you can use to make your work faster. I explained earlier that the purpose of using a specialized tool is to help you develop faster at a higher speed. So it's not if you don't understand coding, it can't code for you. but it can make your work faster, your workflow faster. So instead of 40 minutes of coding, if you use the right tools, you can get it down to, let's say, 20 minutes or even 30 minutes or less. Okay. So our conversation today will focus on the head, what goes into the head. And we need to understand these things very well. That the purpose of the head section of the document is to contain metadata resource links that are not displayed directly on the web page. So anything I write inside the head will not be displayed for me to see. So let's launch our Sublime text, and the interface looks very simple, but it's working. For me to start, I can decide to view my Sublime, the syntax. Okay, because I'm going to do HTML, I'm going to tap on HTML so that I can get the Zen coding for HTML. Now, one cool thing with Sublime Text is when I type HTML, and for demonstration purposes, let me zoom in a little. When I type HTML and hit tab, all of this is generated for me. The doc type, the HTML head. As you can see, the opening tag of the HTML is done. The head is also open for me, right? It's open for me. And my body too is here. So the basic structure I need has been done. And it's important that we talk about these three because they are the core. So for every HTML5 page, you need to define the tar set. We call something the character set. Okay? It helps the document really encode your alphabet properly and also avoid garbled text. And there is also another one called viewport. The viewport helps, it's for devices like mobile devices. It helps them become responsive, enables them become responsive. And your title opening tags are here. Look, the meta tags do not have any closing tags. So we call them self-closing tags. Okay. So in HTML5, I told you that you can even refuse to do this. Okay, they are self-closing tags. And that's why they don't have any closing tags. They just have an opening and that's all. The title, however, is not a self-closing tag. It has an opening and a closing tag. And I taught you earlier that we use the title to show what the tab, should show what will be displayed in the browser tab. So if I want to say the header or the head tag as my title, that's what is going to be displayed in there. Then in my body, I can throw anything I want displayed. Okay. But since our conversation is not going to focus on our body, I'm just going to write a P tag here and say, or let me write a title and say, this for demo. This is for the demo of our head tag. Okay. So if I do this and I click save, it asks me where do I want to save. So I can come here and then select where I need to save it. Previously, I've been saving in a folder called experiment. All the websites I do, that's where I put them. So I say head, the head. I'll say head tag.html. And I put it there, right? So these have saved the document. It means that I can go into the document and open the document and view in my browser. Okay, so that's the new document we created. I want to open the document with Firefox. So I get it open and boom. We have started building our first page. Okay. Not our first page, but this is progress. I'd like us to put this here, move this a little over to this side, and so that we can have ample room to focus on that. So now that means now that any demo we do will show up here in our web page. Okay. Let's keep our screen docked here in our web page. So if I change anything here, I can just hit refresh. Let's move this a little over this side. Little over to the side so that we can have a double view at the same time. So any changes we make here can show up. We have over here, we have the header tag displayed there as a title. If I change it and say, I want to take away the header tag and I just want to call it the head. Once I refresh, I save that in my Sublime text and I come here, hit refresh, that changes it. Okay, so our website is technically working. I want us to focus this conversation more on more on our head, the head file. Okay, head file. So the body is not too crucial for this conversation. I'll send it down. But the head file will be our top conversation today. And I told you these three by default are given because they are the most important part of the HTML5 header tags. And you can add more meta tags, you can add more link tags, you can add more script tags. However, they have to appear beneath these three. Order is important over here. The meta tag, the meta cassette tag shows up first. So meta tag with the attribute cassette. The character set, then you set the value to UTF-8. Then the meta tag with the view, the name. So usually meta tags have a name and they have some content with it. So this one's attribute of a name is assigned to viewport and the content is assigned to the device, the weight, the device initial scale is 1. Sometimes you see 1.0, the same thing. Okay. Then you bring your title. These three are like the crucial, very crucial HTML5 header or head tags that you need to implement. Okay. So that is it. If we change anything here, if we add anything here, remember that it's not going to show up in our content. Okay. So let's say I want to put a style tag for my A3 to say that this is a style tag. I just want to demonstrate something. A style tag to say, okay, this is a CSS. And I come here and then say, my A3 should have certain properties. So I say A3 should have font size should be 60 pixels and they should be colored green. Then once I save this, I can come here and refresh. And that implements that over here. Remember that this style tag can be in a CSS file. Okay. Best practice, you should put your style and your links in the CSS. This style tag, these tags are not demonstrated here. Like they are not visually, the content I put here don't show up here. Only the content in the body. This is for the demo. This is for the demo. It was sure, but there are properties that I've added, the style properties which I've added, that the font should be green, the font size should be 60 pixels, do not show up in the content. Okay. So it's important to realize that you can have other resources, like let's say I want to say I have a resource link. I want to have a link here, and it's a style sheet, and I want to call it um, styles. I said you should look into styles dot css, no styles dot main. Even though I don't have any style sheet like that, okay, main dot css. I said look into it and then create me. When I refresh, you see the style has gone back. However, if I come back into our folder, okay, if I come back into our folder, I'll find it and then say, okay, well, I want to create a new folder called styles here. And inside the styles, I want a CSS file. So I come here and then say, okay, give me a CSS file. We are going to view the syntax CSS. We're going to write some small CSS just to handle the color of this, just as we did. My A3 document should be font size of 60 pixels, just as we did. And what again? Font color, or just the color. The color of the font should be green, just as we did. Now that I'm done, I have to save it at styles.css because in experiments, no, I want to go further into my styles folder and then put it there. Once I have done this, let's go back to see. So now, as you can see, in my folder here, I have a folder known as styles here, right? And these styles contain styles.css. I want to rename that to main.css. Okay. So now I have a main.css file. And this is the link. I inserted a link and I said, look into the styles folder, which is here, styles folder, and look for a file called main.css, which is here, main.css. And once you do that, once I get to save that, I can come here, refresh my page, and now it's finding it. I have inserted a link here, right? This link does not show up in my content. However, it is linking the web page to some resource outside the content which the web page can use. So your links come here, your meta come here, your titles come here, your styles can also come here, and your scripts can also come into the head file. So the head is for containing, technically, let's say, metadata tags, which we saw, link tags, which we implemented an example, script tags, and you can also have style tags. So these four things show up in the head. Okay. These four things show up in the head. You can have metadata tags, you can have link tags, you can have script tags, and you can have style tags. Okay. The head section of an HTML document contains metadata and resource links and not displayed directly on the web page, but they are essential for browsers and search engines. This means that even though they are not directly displayed on the web page, web browsers need it. So the web browser looks at the link that I inserted here, and then says, oh, okay, I need to fetch these styles to style the page to make it look a certain way, make it appear a certain way. The web browser looks at the title and then say, okay, for the heading of the tab of this website, I need to put the head over here as the tab. So the browser needs that information. Also, search engines also need that information for their work. Okay. So that is how come we have the head. The head is for metadata tags, links tags, script tags, and style tags. Now let's go deeper into each of them. Okay. So metadata tags, as we displayed earlier, they provide information for about the document. They provide information about the document. And even though it's not displayed on the page, the browser needs that information to do certain things. And web engines also need it. Search engines also need it. And I said that order matters in declaring meta tags. We call them meta tags. Their full meaning is metadata, but meta tags. And this is what we see here. Order matters. The first thing is the meta cassette. The next thing is the viewport. And the third thing here is the title. Okay, the title. So these three are the most important ones. The other ones can be links that point to link. The relationship to that document that is a style sheet. We said it should be of the type text or CSS. And it should go into a folder called styles and get main.css from there. That is how we tidy up our web page, because you don't want structure to mix with content. So you don't want, let's say, JavaScript files, CSS files to be mixing up with your HTML file. So usually you create them separately. You create them separately and then use link files to point them to point the web page to the resource files you have created. Okay, so let's continue. So I said place the cassette first, followed by the viewport, then your title can follow, just as we can here. So there's the cassette. That's the cassette. That is the viewport, which I said it controls responsiveness for mobile devices. The cassette is for character encoding. And the title is for what words should display on the browser tab. And we'll go further. Okay, so these are some examples that we would like to look at here. Examples of meta data tags. Okay, we said something that metadata tags are self-closing, which means that once open, they don't need to have another closing tag called angle bracket / meta. And this example, I said that this one declares the character encoding. Okay, cassette. That's the first thing. The next one, followed by that, is the meta with the name viewport. Okay, with the name viewport. That one ensures proper mobile rendering. Okay, proper mobile rendering. The next one is your title. That one is not a metadata tag. It's a title. It has the opening and closing. Okay. And you can continue with other metadata tags, such as metadata tag with the name, description, then the content. Description You see, when you search for a page, usually when you search for a page on Google, like let's demonstrate something, like let's say google.com. Let's say Google. All right. So once I search for something, you see there's a short paragraph of information here. Search for the world's most important web pages, blah, 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 blah. This thing is found in the description. Okay. So if I implement a metadata called description, the content I put here is what shows up when my users search for. Okay. Then you have metadata with that's why I said SEO summary, search engine optimization summary. Okay. That's what shows up. And you have the metadata called name keywords. Okay. It has the name keyword. And you can add certain keywords which allows users to find you whenever they search. So when they enter some keywords, it finds you. However, this thing is becoming deprecated. So SEOs are no longer using it because Google realized or other realize that people use that to trick the SEO. So they can have keywords that are not related. And when you search, it leads them, it leads you there. So now Google instead looks at the heading, and the headings are used for indexing the pages. Okay. Then you can have author information, that is name of the author of the website, the developer of the website, or the company, the website. So all of these are examples of metadata tags. Okay. We have meta set, which doesn't have a name. It doesn't have a name. But the rest of the meta data, you can see all of them have a name, right? Viewport, description, keywords, author. Okay. And they have content. Each of them has content. Okay. So it has a name and it has a content, except for the meta set. Now, more on metadata, we can have more on metadata, we can have open graph controls, and these are used for social media. I mean, when you share a link on social media, the title it has, the description it has, the image it uses when you share, and the link it does. So, for example, let's say I go to, let's say I'm using WhatsApp as an example. Let's say for the sake of web.whatsapp.com, I'm using WhatsApp to share something. Just to help people, just to help with the demo. Okay, so my WhatsApp loaded. So I want to share something with this number. And I see that, okay, well, okay, so I already shared something here. You can use that as a demo. Okay. Web Development Foundations. Okay. And when I shared that particular YouTube video, let's look at that particular YouTube video. What did it entail? Okay, so these are our web development foundations, which I did some time back. If you haven't seen that video, I recommend that you go check it out. And once I'm sharing that, when we go into the description of the page, we will see the content that is showing up here, discusses the web technologies and users. Okay, so that's the description of the page. And your metadata will help with that. So let me go into inspecting view page source and see if I can fetch the description. Description. This is minified, so you can see that everything has been put together. Description. So I have one description. I have another description. Okay, so let me look at web. Let me copy something that makes more. So discusses web technologies and new users. Oh, so it showed there already. Okay. So let me go into the source of YouTube and then say discusses. Okay. So we are finding something. So let's look at it. Meta, the property is OG and the content. So this is OG description. That is what was shared on the social media page, as you can see. So if I have metadata OG description, it means that it fetches the page's description. Okay, so if I share it online on social media, this text will appear as my description to the other person. So this is what appears here. And the image, let's see the image that is shared here. I don't know if Google allows us access to it. But let's see if we can hit the image directly. So, okay, Google doesn't allow us to search. Directly. So Google is preventing that. However, you should be able to, and this image is what shows up here. Okay. This is the image that shows up here. Discusses, as you can see, it's the OG description. And that is what Open Graph is about. OG stands for Open Graph. So you have OG title. The title you put here is what users will see when they share it on social media. OG description is the description they will see when they share it on social media. OG image is the image they will see once they share it on social media, the image that appears as a thumbnail. And OG URL is the link to that page. And OG type here, so you can see that for the Open Graph, they have a property and they have content. They don't have a name. OG property, OG title, OG description, OG image, OG URL, and then the content follows. Okay. And for Twitter, you have Twitter cards. Twitter can, and today we call Twitter X. But still, we use Twitter card, okay, as the name. Maybe in next versions of HTML, perhaps that name is going to change because now it's becoming deprecated. And the theme color, the meta name theme color, is very useful because you can use it to set the theme color of your. Sometimes you have specific colors that you want them to show on mobile devices and other things. So it sets the color for you. And HTTP equivalent, you can use that to make it compatible for Internet Explorer, to improve the compatibility. Okay. Because Internet Explorer has been sometimes obsolete for a while. They are beating edge, but they haven't done that. So you are setting IE's compatibility to Edge at the same time. And you can use this to display an automatic phone number detection on mobile. So if to disable an automatic phone number detection. So sometimes you have some of them automatically detecting some websites automatically detecting your phone number, and you want to prevent that. So when you set the meta name to format detection and telephone number no to prevent that. So these are a few metadata types. And I'll make these slides available so that as you develop, as you learn, you might need some of these tags along the way. Then you can take a look at them and then really get into it. However, there is also very useful resources online that allows you, like Mozilla documentation on HTML. Documentation on HTML. All right. So these are web docs, hypertext, and you can come here to learn a lot about tags. And if you need some information, it's like a reference thing for tags. So you can see header, head, elements such as head. So we go into head and then we look at head. What goes into head? And it's useful for learning a lot of things. So you can see they've demonstrated examples of what goes into the head, the default things that should go into the head. So it's really a very cool documentation of what, and they can also tell you the browser compatibility here. And this is very useful. Okay. So I'll make the slides available as well so that you can take a look at them later. So that's about the head with metadata. I told you that metadata, it's mainly for information that is needed by web browsers. That is when you are sharing information, that information is needed. However, they don't show up on the website. They don't show up as content on the website. Okay. It describes your page to social media handles. It describes your page to search engines. It describes your page to other browsers. Okay. Now let's talk about link tags. Link tags, as we demonstrated earlier, are used to define relationships and used to link your web page to external resources which you need to implement on your web page. So usually what happens is sometimes you need some resource and you don't want to mix that up with your HTML document. So you introduce a link tag, and that link tag should come after your three most important meta tags. They can come beneath it. Other tags can also show up, but your link tag can't be above any of these three. Okay, it has to be beneath it. So first you have your car set, and you have your name viewport, and you have your title, then your link tag can show up. And most of link tags they have the format, the link, then they have the format, the relationship. So sometimes it is a CSS file, using style sheet. Okay. And then the href stands for hyperlink reference. Okay. Hyperlink reference. So href tells the browser, or it tells the web page where to look to get that resource. Okay. And we can see an example demonstrated over here. We did that with our CSS file. So the link here has the relationship is a style sheet. The type is a text dot, and the href specifies where it should find that CSS file. Okay. So that's about link tag. Then these are examples. Examples. This is used to load a CSS file, just as we demonstrated. link relatively this and that. It loads your CSS file. And over here, you specify the folder in which it should go and then fetch your file. Display, this one is used to display the site icon. Okay, so you can have some of these things that if I have this and I say relativity icon, it should fetch that image as an icon. It's going to do that. And I'm going to demonstrate that to you. Icon files usually have .ico. Okay, .ico, it means that it's an icon file. I'm going to demonstrate that to you pretty soon. And let's take an example like I have a file in there, but it's not an icon file. I just want to turn it around and see if we can use that for demo purposes. Okay, so this is our main file. I want to have an image file. We have a flower in here. I want to turn it around for us to see if we can use it as an icon file. So I'll say flower.ico as if it's an icon file. I'm trying to trick the system to see. Okay. Then relationship, I'll come here and then say link I'll say relationship is an icon, and then href should go to image folder, and then it should look for flowers. To look for flower.ico. So I want to say that relation icon. The type here specified should be image X icon, X icon. So then the type specified here should be img slash X icon. So once that is saved, let's go into our browser, the head, and let's drag it here to be more visible. And I hit refresh, I see something. This is for branding purposes. Okay. And this is how sometimes you can insert the logo of a company against it, like the way you see Mozilla here, you see this. So I tricked it to believe that there's an icon file. However, it has best practices. You have to design your icon files to a specific, how do I say, a specific site. Okay. So that is for demonstrating. So this is for like, let's say, for Apple Touch devices, then you need to do some changes here. So if you want them, it means that you have to display the first one, link file with the relationship as icon, href, your file, then the type is here. Then for Apple Touch devices, you have to implement, touch devices are like iPads, iPhone stuff. Then you have to implement this as well to cover for them. Okay. So the relationship should be Apple Touch icon. And then the href should be the icon, wherever you have it, the name of the icon. And pre-connect is for loading files which you might need ahead of time, which are third party or they are not on your server. Okay. So you can use that to when you use a relationship of pre-connect, it means that fetch those files before my they are so essential. So fetch them before loading the body of the page. Okay. And then preload is also used for loading critical resources. So third-party resources are here. Critical resources that you really, really, really need. Even though they're on your server, use preload. So pre-connect is for third-party resources that are not on your website or on your server. Then this preload is for resources that may be on your server, but the page really, they are crucial for the loading of the page. And canonical is for CEOs. It avoids duplicate of content issues. So sometimes you have each page in the content having the same description, having the same stuff. So if you use relationship as canonical, then you can prevent it from all the time fetching that description, fetching that uh, on repeated stuff again. It's just like a cookie, implementing cookies in your header so that it doesn't repeat itself. Okay, so these are short examples of links. Okay, the link tags we said they are placed after these three very important uh, tags: the meta cassettes, the meta viewports, then the title page. Then your links come, okay? And the link kind of connects your web page to resources that are on the server that you need them to show, like the favicon. The favicon. This is called the favicon. Okay. And we saw how we did the favicon. Um, so let's continue from link tags. We've spoken about these. We move to script tags. Now, script tags, you see, CSS, HTML are not able to implement any functionalities or because they are not programming languages. They are not able to implement conditions. They are not able to implement certain things if some conditions are true or not. So what we use here is we use script tags, and the script tag for the browser is called JavaScript. JavaScript. So if you write some HTML, you learn some CSS, you should also learn some JavaScript to enable you to write useful scripts that you run within your browser. Okay. JavaScript is a client-side language, which means that it runs within your browser. The files are shipped from your server as the developer to the browser of the user. And that is where they run. They implement things. They don't implement on the server. If they implement on the server, then they are server-side scripts, like PHP, like Python, like if they have to be interpreted there, then they are server-side scripts. However, if they interpret on the side of the user or on the browser, then they are client-side. So script tags are usually scripts which you will need, your page will need. And just as resources, you can use them. However, it's important that you see scripts because they run functionality. Sometimes it takes a while for the browser to run them. So you have to bear that in mind that if you have scripts that are, let's say, dependent on other scripts and they are all in your web page, they have to wait for each other to complete their running before, and that can impact your page load time. So I said that the second method of choice of loading a script greatly, the method of choice of loading a script greatly impacts a website's performance. So some key JavaScript loading methods are the blocking, the defer, the async, and the model. We come to understand all of that and when to use that. By default, blocking is set, but you can use defer to allow it to move to other items and run. You know, the HTML file runs from the top to the bottom. So if you set its loading mode to defer, what you are telling the browser is that don't finish loading this script and implementing this DOM before you move to other things. You can defer it and then do it alongside. Async is for, oh, keep asynchronous, keep doing it, whilst the other scripts are also running because they are not dependent. Okay. So they say best practice is that you keep your script before the ending of the body tag. So here is our script. The body tag is here. Best practice is that put your script here before the body tag ends. So put your script here and say script. So once I did that, you can see my script loaded. And I can say, this is why I want my script to run. Okay. And for scripting purposes today, we are just going to do something and say for I is equal to 0, we are going to implement a simple script that kind of puts from 1 to 5. So I is less than 5 or 6, and I plus plus. Increase, that means I increase I plus 1 all the time. And we see that console.log, no, alerts I every time. So we said, okay, we are now putting a script in there. Okay, we are now putting a script in there. And there's an example of a script. Okay. And that's a script specifying the source. If you have a source of a script, that's fine. The cross origin is where if it's coming from external places or CDNs. When we say CDN, it's a content delivery network. So script tags, let's look at what is happening here. We are implementing a script directly in the browser. So when I click here, because of the script I'm implementing, it says that 0. 0 is where it starts from. 1 is the next one. 2 is the next one. 3 is the next value. 4 is the next value. And the last value is 5. That is what we've asked the script to do. Okay. So initialize from 1, do this, and increase the counter to 1 plus plus. Alert I every time. Okay. So, okay, I should be this, less than 6. Okay, so initialize from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then end it. That's what our script is basically doing. So it's possible for you to run a script in your file. However, I told you that it's not best practice to be putting CSS stuff, HTML stuff in your script, to be putting style tags, to be putting script tag in your HTML files. So the best practice is to separate this thing, to separate your code. Okay, separate this code from and to do that, you separate them and then say source, SRC is the source, and say put it in JS folder and call it main.js. Okay. Now, instead of writing the script directly, we have pointed it to go and look in a particular folder, JS. But we don't have that folder yet. So we are going to create that folder. Okay, here. Let's say there's a folder called JS, and then we should have main in main.js. Okay. So let me come here and then create a new file called view, and that's JavaScript. So I come here and then create this. This is just a simple code of what is happening. And I said I should alert something, I, the value of I here. Okay. So I have just done that. I create and I try to save this, and I want to save it inside my JS folder and call it the main.js. All right, so once I do that, now you can see some Zen coding in here. And I've pointed this script source. So in doing that, our code is more tidy. Okay. When you point your script source, then your code becomes more tidy. You don't have to implement a lot of code in your script inside the HTML page, which is not best practice. So best practice is that you should have an independent script page that handles that, and then you should link it to just this. Okay. So once I do that, I still have the same results because it is fetching, it's looking into that folder and then fetching the, the results for me. So I think that's very helpful to use the script tag. Now let's go talk more about the scripts. Okay, so script tags. And the method we choose really impacts the performance. So it's important to look at your script tag very well and make sure you are selecting the right method patterns which it's used to download. And for CDN scripts, what we mean by CDN is content delivery network. Now, sometimes for resources that you need very often, or that is often downloaded in several places, or these are scripts that are very useful for your website, you can decide to have them, to have a CDN, a content delivery network hosted for you, so that they just share the link with you and you implement in your page. What happens is wherever your users are, they will have a server that is closer to the user, such that when the user hits your server, it will fetch from their server, and then based on the proximity of their server to the user, they will be able to load that file, send that file to the user faster. Okay. So that's what the content of CDN is about. And it's advisable that when you use a CDN, you should use course origin and set it to anonymous. Okay. So let's look at some examples of script tags and how they are used. By default, they are set to blocking. So blocking pauses all HTML until the script loads. So when it gets there, that is why we're saying over here that when you put it in the head, it is going to ensure that that thing has completely loaded before your page starts loading, before your content starts loading, and your user will be watching a blank screen. Okay. So what you do is you don't put it in your head, but after all your content in the body tag has loaded, then you implement your script tags. You implement your script tags at the end of your body tag. So your content has already loaded. The user is seeing something. Meanwhile, within a few seconds, your scripts are loading in the background before he takes any action. Okay, before he clicks the button, before he does anything that involves interactivity, your script has already finished loading. So that's the best practice. And you use defer to execute after the dawn is passed. Okay? And this is for non-critical scripts. Okay? If there is a very critical script, then you can use async. Okay? This executes as soon as it's loaded, and it's for independent scripts as well. So take a look at this. The script, then you specify the source, where it should find the script. Just as we specify the source here, that it should go into our JS folder and look at the script name. You specify the source. Then you come and specify the method which it should use to download. So as I did, you can see async, defer, stuff here that are related to that. So the method in which it's used to load is like a single attribute. It doesn't have any value that follows it. Okay, so you have defer, you have async as a method of loading, and you have the source of model, and you can also include internal JavaScript, like what we're trying to do, which is not advisable. Okay. So these are external way of scripting. You write script, your script tags. Script tags have an opening and closing. So take note, you have an opening and closing, and they are placed right before your body tag ends. Okay. And so you can have it set to defer, you can have it set to async, you can have it set to, once again, by default, it's set to blocking, so you don't need to write blocking. Okay. And these, you just write the value there, defer. You don't write the defer is equal to true, or you don't write anything like that. Okay. So this, let's say these ones are for external files. This one is for internal scripting. Okay. You just write the script tags, and in between the tags, you put in your code. Now let's look at one important one called a style tag. Okay. This is for CSS, and CSS is for styling style. So you can find that in your header as well. Okay, you can find that in your header as well. And all of, even though we have placed it here and it's working, you can place it in your header if it's not going to be troubled. Okay, if it's not going to be troubled, so I can place this here and it will still work. It should still work. So I can come here and then say, let me reload my page. So it's still working. But if you have tags, scripts that take a while to load, then you should consider doing that as well. All right. So style tags. Style tags. Now let's move to the final point of tags. We can also have styling is for appearance, okay, how you want your page to look. So we said it should look a certain way, which currently we set the link to style sheet here, but we can give it direct styles in here as well. And that's what I mean by style tags. By just, instead of writing relative relation link and then relation, we can put a direct style in there to override the existing style. So to say, let's say style in between these style tags, I can come here and say, now I want my this H3N. Okay, so I want my H3 to be have a font size of 100 instead of 50. I want to double the size, and I want it to be red. color, or let me use another color, light green. Cool. Once I implement that, let's see what happens. This is green. So now that has been implemented. It's overriding the existing CSS file we have. And it's because I'll explain something about order to you. Even though we have a style, an existing style which exists here, main.css. Let's open up main.css and see what that contains. Even though styles, and we have main.css. Let me open with Sublime text. I want you to open just even though we have this, and it was initially specifying this to a font size of this and a color of that. It was initially doing that. When we come to this, when we come to this style, we can see that this one initially does that. It sets it to 50. This link initially sets it to a font size of 50, and also it sets a color of green. However, following it is another style. And when you put two styles there, the one below will override the existing one. The one below will override the existing one. And that's how come we have this style, internal style overriding this. So we can have style tags here as well. So that is how come you can have key, and these are for critical CSS. Ideally, put your CSS in an external file, ideally. However, sometimes you want some overrides. That is when you implement the existing style tags here in a block below your file, your external files. So it says that for external use of CSS, use it. And it's helpful because it helps with your caching. When we say caching, and caching is like a technology of the browser that retains information anytime you visit that page, so that it doesn't have to repeat the HTTP request anytime you. That also makes the experience better for the user. And maintainability is about anytime you need to edit something with the appearance, you know that when I go into this file, all my code is there. It's easy to maintain. Once I shift something, it's shifted for the entire website. But if you have this internal CSS on your web and on a particular header tag web page, you can have another web page that doesn't have this, and that web page will look different. Okay, even though it's on your website. So sometimes you have specific CSS that you want to implement on that particular page. That is when you implement internal CSS. And we have something we call print styles. Print styles are for styling the document when you want it printed. That's okay. When it's viewing the browser, this is how it should be. But when it's printing it, there are certain things you might not find useful, like a button on the page. When he prints a button on the page, what can he do with the button? He can't press it on the paper. So sometimes printing, they need only the content. They need paragraphs, they need the headings, they need stuff. And sometimes you have a background, which is an image, and when he prints it, it might not look very good. So you want to take off the background as well. And so this is an example of a style, an internal CSS that it says that, okay, for the body, set the font family to Arial and Sans serif. The font family is like the font styles. Okay, set it to this. Print styles, an example of this is first you set the media to print, okay? And we'll come to media queries, that is in CSS. We'll do more about that. And it says print the background none, set the background to none. So it means that when it's printing, whenever it's printing that web page, this particular CSS will apply. If there is any background, it will take the background away. So you have a printed version without background. And navigation, display to none. So navigation is like the links on the page. When you print out links on the page, you can't, it's not interactive. They can't click it, they can't do it, it just shows up in the page. So it's kind of useless. You have a printed navigation on a page. So sometimes you want to set it to none. Okay. So this is about the header file. Okay. I hope we've done justice to what goes into the head. Earlier, we spoke about the introduction of HTML. We've spoken about the HTML5. And today we dwelled on the head tag and what goes into the head tag and why. And we said that a couple of things go there. The metadata tags, which we often see as meta, they are self-closing tags. Link tags, which are also self-closing tags. Script tags, these are not self-closing. They have an opening and closing. Style tags also have an opening and closing. The script tags are for your scripts, like JavaScript, things that you want implemented there. The style tags are for your appearance on the website. So you have CSS, internal style tags, but ideally you should have external style tags that are link tags. And we said some of the link tags, you can find icons in that links to the page, the script tags. And one important thing that we mentioned was that we said for script tags, we should be careful on how the methods we use to the loading methods. So these loading methods can slow our page down or can make it faster. And we can go in, the default is the blocking. We can go in for defer if we feel that if we leave it as blocking, it's going to slow down the page time. You can go with that defer. And with time, I'll introduce you to tools that you can use to measure your performance, especially the speed of the web page. There are tools that you can implement. So we are still on HTML today. We dwell on the head. Then in our next lesson, we'll try and then touch on the body and look at what goes into it, the semantic tags and non-semantic tags. But we need to understand the head because often you have a lot of developers who sometimes don't really know what goes on there. They just know about a few three tags, the cassette, the viewport, and the title. But there is more. And we saw how you can use that in social media to display the description of your content. So hopefully I'll see you soon in the next lesson. Okay. I wish you all the best as we progress and don't stop practicing.